All right, so hey guys, how's my hair look? It's a hot mess. Okay, so I haven't taken a shower yet, which is great, so I don't look like a hot mess yet. I usually do by the end, if I do a late night one. Anyways, you don't really care what I look like, but I was gonna go ahead and go over your homework with you. Again, you know, as always, if you have any questions, you can go ahead. Oh, I got a thumbs up already. You can go ahead and leave any comments. I'll be glad to help you with any questions. Hey, girl. Hey, girl. Hey. And then, of course, I did tell you that on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, when I'm here in the mornings, you can always come in for extra help. So tomorrow morning is Wednesday, and those people who are with me today, I did let them know that you can come in, and that goes for everybody. You're more than welcome to come in, and we're just going to continue to review some of the skills that we've already been working on so that hopefully that reinforces and just make sure that you're really good. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on your homework. I see that there's 3 friends on, plus one who doesn't show their name, so there's actually 4. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So I asked you to do the evens, and if you know that's like first grade skill, we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. For some reason, we don't all have that first grade skill. So when I look at number 2 says 90 is 1/10 of. So most of you remember right off the bat that the word of represents an operation. The word of represents the operation multiplication, which means that the word is going to represent your equals sign. So 1/10 of something is going to equal 90. So I needed to figure out when I multiplied 1/10 times a number, what was the number I started with? So since I know I multiplied 1/10, that meant that my answer got smaller. So I would have started with a bigger answer, cut it into tenths, and got a smaller answer. So if on 90, the decimal's right there, and this tells me I'm moving it over one place value because each time I move over, it's getting 10 times greater. I know that I had to start with a bigger number, cut it into pieces, which gives me a smaller number. So I would just move my decimal over one place value and then put a 0 to hold that place. And again, we talked about in class, I don't say I have $900.00. I just say 900. So you would drop the decimal at the end if it's a whole number and there's nothing else after it. Same thing here. You want to think about it as rewriting it as an operation or as an expression. Oh, well, I hope she feels better. Oh, it's awful. I'm telling you, it's flu season, and my daughter was sick last week. She had a terrible virus, and I thought she had the flu. Luckily, she didn't. So we went to the doctor right away. But I'm telling you, it's just a terrible season. I hope she feels better. Send our love. We missed her today. So when I'm doing 5,000 is 1/10 of, again, that word of is going to represent an operation. Ooh, she's already got her bid in. I love it. All right, so 1/10 of, so I'm going to do multiplication. Ooh, Chloe, your thinking is backwards. If I started with a number and I'm multiplying it by a number less than 1, that means my answer is going to be less than the original number started with. So my number I started with should be bigger. I cut it into pieces, and now I have a smaller because I've multiplied the number that I started with by a fraction less than 1, which means this is going to be less than your original number. So you just move the decimal in the wrong direction. So this tells me how many places to move the decimal, and I would move it over one place. And now you'll see I have 1, 2, 3 zeros. So my original number was 5,000. And now it's 50,000, meaning that if I have 50,000 and I'm multiplying it by 1/10, it's going to equal 5,000. Okay, so I'm going to do one column at a time. You're going to have to hold on. I'm going to mute this because my kids are making me crazy. Hold on. All right, sorry, just a little conversation with my children there. So this is more like what we did in class, and I know that I asked you to do 6, 8, 10, 12, so I guess I'll do that. So I'm going to start with the 6, 8, 10, 12, and I'm going to do the whole number first, the multiplying 10 times as much, because I feel like that's what we're most comfortable with. So when I do it, the strategy we talked about in class is that I'm going to take this number 7,000. All right, enjoy your dinner. I'm going to take this number 7,000 and I'm going to write it in. And now if it's becoming 10 times as much, 10 times as much as 70,000 is going to equal, move it over one place value, it's going to equal 70,000. So now is what I'm doing is taking this number, multiplying it by 10, and it's going to equal this. 7,000 times 10 equals 70,000. Here we did it backwards. They actually gave us the answer, and we had to figure out what we multiplied by. But you'll see this on the test where you have to place the original number. When you're placing the original number, just think opposite. Okay, so same number. We always start with the same number. Oh, you know what? I'm going to go through whole numbers first. Let's go to 8. I'm going to come back and go through 10th of, but I want to get good here. So we started with 80. And again, where's the decimal on our whole number? Right, our decimal's at the end of a whole number. So I just kind of lightly put it in there. And I know if I'm getting 10 times greater, there's 1 0, which tells me I'm moving over one place value. If it was 100, it'd be 2 place values. But there's 1 0, so I'm moving over one place value. And because I'm multiplying it by a whole number or a number greater than 1, my answer is becoming bigger. You got it. Oh, and now see, I remember who you are because now you told me today. Appreciate that, because shout out to you. So your number becomes 800, and then we talked about you would just drop that decimal at the end because we don't say I have $800. I have eight. We don't say I have $800.00. I just have 800. Okay, I'm going to go to 10 and 12 on the times 10, and then I'll go back and do that one. So times 10, again, my original number is 900, so I'm going to go ahead and write that in. And 10 times as much as, again, so I'm going to take 900 and multiply it by 10, which means I'm just regrouping, moving over one place value. 10 times as much of 900 now is 9,000. And unfortunately, I don't have an eraser, but you would drop that decimal. You got it. See, I'm so proud of you. You do so good because you work in small group, and I'm just so proud of you today. I can't even explain it. You're just awesome today. And every day, but really today for real. So 500, 10 times as much as, again, I'm multiplying by a number greater than 1, so it's got to be getting bigger. Oh, you got it again. And now I have 5,000. So, yeah, I don't want to say your name, but I do know who you are. You're doing so awesome. I just can't even. All right, so now we're going to do a 10th of. So if I'm doing a 10th of, my number should be getting smaller than the original. And again, since there's 1 0, I'm moving over one place value because, again, think about those base 10s. We're borrowing groups of 10. We'd borrow a 10th to make 10 ones. We could borrow a 100th to make 10 tens. You know, same difference. So, boom, one place value. But now because we're multiplying by a number less than 1, we know that our decimal needs to be moving, so it's getting smaller. So on a whole number, we have said that the decimal is always at the end of the whole number. And I would just move it over one place value. Because it's a whole number, I wouldn't say I have $700.00. We would just say 700. See, and you're so good because you're beating me and you're dropping the decimal and the extra 0. So see, I'm like telling you, you're awesome. Here we go, 80. Again, the decimal's at the end of the whole number. I'm multiplying by 1/10 of, which is the same thing as saying divided by 10. So I need it to be getting smaller. And now my number 80 becomes 8 because it was here at the end. I'm moving it over one place value, so now it's between the 8 and the 0. Drop the decimal. Your new number is 8. Okay, going back to 10. My original number was 900, and I'm doing a 10th of that, so multiplying by 1/10, or same thing as saying divide by 10. So if I'm dividing by 10, I know my number is getting smaller. So when I look here at 900, decimal's at the end of the whole number, and I need it to be getting 10 times smaller. I'm dividing by 10. The decimal's going to move over right there. And now my new number is, you got it, zombie. My new number is 90. Okay, the next one is 500. Again, you know, Okay, so you totally got it. Again, I'm doing by a number less than 1, which is the reciprocal of saying multiply by 1/10 would be divide by 10. So I would just take this decimal, I'm going to move over one place value, 500 divided by 10 would give you 50 whole. Drop the decimal, drop that 0. And then the last one for homework, so see, this homework is totally going fast. Like, it's going to be 12 minutes and homework is done. Does not have to be a big situation. All right, so word problems, again, we always want to use cubes because it helps us make sure that we're actually answering what the question is asking. So number 4 says, Mr. Wilson, I'm just going to flip the camera there. Mr. Wilson has $3,000 in his bank account. Mr. Nelson has 10 times as much money in her bank account. Oh, that's Miss. I don't know what just happened. That was so weird. Miss Nelson has 10 times as much money in her bank account as Mr. Wilson has in his bank account. How much money does Miss Nelson have in her bank account? So I know that this is how much Mr. Nelson has, and I see the number 10. So I'm going to underline my question. So I want to be looking for how much money does Miss Nelson have in her bank account? And when I look at this, I can think, all right, Mr. Nelson's got 3,000. And this is telling me that she has 10 times as much, which tells me to do what operation? Right, I'm multiplying, and I'm multiplying by 10. So when I'm multiplying by 10, should my number be getting bigger or smaller? If you said smaller, shame on you. My number's getting bigger because I'm multiplying by a number that's bigger than 1. So because I'm multiplying by a number bigger than 1, you're going to put the decimal at the end of that whole number and move it over one place value, 1 0, one place value. So now your new number has changed. You have 1, 2, 3 zeros and then another. Your answer becomes, if she has 10 times as much as 3,000, she has 30,000 bucks. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and close out for the day. You totally got it, Zombie. Zombie, I owe you a treat because you were very active and you were here. If anybody's catching this video, you can submit the word place and I'll do a drawing for a prize. But again, just make sure that you're checking this tomorrow morning, 8:15. I will be glad to support you. Just come right on in the classroom, and I hope to see anybody who needs any help. Hopefully I'll see you then. But again, feel free to comment at any point and I'll be glad to help you as well. And I love our new small group routine. So anyways, peace out, Cub Scout.
Peace out, Cub Scout. Peace out, Cub Scout.